15th anniversary of Left 4 Dead 2 is right around the corner. I'm planning on a bunch of Left 4 Dead content in November to commemorate the occasion, and I wanted to dig back into the channel's roots and do another video today. The survivors of Left 4 Dead were beset with their veteran Bill laying down his life to ensure the rest could live on, as part of a concrete ending for the original cast of characters so that Zoe, Lewis, and Francis sail off to a distant island. The second set of survivors were never given that sense of finality to their journey, being whisked away by the military from New Orleans. We have discussed the possibilities of what might have happened to them before over the course of a bunch of videos I have done over the years. But what if a similar situation like at the Sacrifices Bridge occurred, with the situation being them facing execution by the military or buying time for the others while a massive horde approaches? There's a lot that could happen, whether either Coach, Ellis, Rochelle, or Nick would choose to elect themselves to die for their team's continued survival. Today, we are discussing which Left 4 Dead 2 survivor would sacrifice themselves for the team. Over a decade ago, when the passing was announced, Valve had teased that one of the OG survivors was gonna die, leaving it up to scrupulous debate between fans on whether Zoe, Lewis, Francis, or Bill would be the one to die. While we do know that Bill would ultimately be the one to perish, developers stated that originally the death of one of the survivors would be up to the player, with the concrete death never being canon. It is up to you. When it comes to determining which of the four survivors would be the one to pull a Bill Overbeck, there is a lot to take into consideration. All of the second group of survivors are decently fleshed out in their personalities, motives, interactions, and progression throughout the 6 campaigns they are involved in, all meeting each other for the first time on the Vanna Hotel rooftop completely by chance when they miss evacuating via helicopter by mere seconds, thrust into being a ragtag group of people from different walks of life, learning each other's quirks, strengths, and flaws, working with one another to survive, all having certain chemistry between each other that develops more and more the further towards Nolans they get. Ellis going in guns blazing with a boyish attitude as if it were another wild day with Keith, Rochelle trying to be the peacemaker of the group, attempting to defuse situations with a dry wit and a righteous resolve. Nick being the sarcastic, perkish con artist that always has used others to achieve his own goals, even if it meant throwing them under the bus. And Coach, whose years of, coaching teenagers and coordinating with teams in order to succeed in sports, being a man that even through solid weight and setbacks binds his ever-changing teams even to this day. Being forced to work together has them butt heads, but using their strengths to get to safety countless times against swarms of the Green Flu's infected forces across the southern United States. If push comes to shove, what survivor would lay down the ultimate sacrifice? I ran a poll on both my Twitter and YouTube community tab. The results from both, as well as my opinion, resoundingly said that Rochelle would be the least likely candidate. But why? Rochelle is considered to be the most sensical person of her group, always trying to find a solution to any problem, making sure herself, her friends, and those she meets up with all come out in agreement and in one piece, all while having a dry wit to her. She quickly warms up to everyone, treating Coach like a father and Ellis like a little brother. She even tries to work with Nick's sour attitude and even agrees with him on the reality of many of their situations. She is a person with a calm demeanor and no really elevated emotions for the most part with the other survivors. Also because she is looking to find a big break into the world of journalism, since that was her career before everything went to hell, it is possible she may hold the greatest sense of self-preservation, experiencing everything through the eyes of an immune across the southern United States so she can survive to possibly tell the story to a world that may or may not persevere. If things got truly to the point that the team needed saving, narratively and realistically speaking, I cannot see Rochelle being the individual that will pull this off. She would sit back and try to hold the line with her group, but would not charge headfirst on her own. Don't get me wrong, I am not saying she is selfish or would throw others in harm's way, far from it, but she is more the peacemaker that uses her words before her actions. She thinks a lot before she speaks. It's more than likely the stubbornness of the guys on the team would just mean her rational thinking would not give her the time to pull off a sacrifice. Plus, for her and the guys' perception of the future, having a level-headed negotiator would be necessary for the days to come. Next up on the hypothetical chopping block that I'd have to put up is Ellis. We just brought up how the men of the group can be bullheaded. Ellis takes that definition and runs a literal country mile with it. His hopeless childlike excitement at everything gives him a personal feeling of invincibility, tackling everything head on while treating his group like they are all his longtime amigos. While he will do anything for his companions, he will be more than likely too busy or distracted by everything going on to commit to an intentional self-sacrifice. Ellis, even by his own account, tends to be a spectator to other people's feats. Judging by the over 25 stories he has on his buddy Keith, Ellis had only witnessed most of these, detailing how he saw Keith drive cars off cliffs, get attacked by gators, or even deep frying a turkey where it exploded. Ellis is one, just like Rochelle, to live to tell a story. Not for lack of courage or action, mind you. Dude's got balls bigger than my 5 head. I mean, look at that. In most cases, he treats most of the goings-on as a giant game. He is having fun with everything. He will willingly save and help others when the objective is in plain sight. But Ellis will be too focused on running and gunning beside everyone to think of a bigger picture. If this were more so a test of who would most likely die first just by circumstance, I could definitely say Ellis would be a head nominee. But at the end of the day, having the youngster of the group off himself would feel extremely out of place. Ellis needs to live to see Keith again and regale him of all his new stories. Now I'm going to stop with that accent, and now we have to get into the harder half of this video. The polls were pretty apparent on who they believed would be the one that would offer their life up for the greater good. Nick and Ellis were tossed up for the title of second place. But Coach won by a wide margin, wider than his and the Boomers put together waistline. People said that Coach being the de facto leader of the group would mean he would take the heat. The only character with no real name, Coach would stick by his namesake and would probably take one for the team. It is easily foreseeable. It just makes sense. He takes to leading and guiding his group like it is second nature, veering them on the right path, scolding Ellis when he trails off, joining Rochelle in discussion and debate, dulling Nick's criminal loner edge with a more stubborn outlook. Coach is the glue that keeps the team together, making them function as a unit. He has lived a fuller and definitely longer life than everyone else there, having unrealized dreams of going pro due to an injury early on in his life, coaching countless high school football teams, having had many delicious meals that have slowed him down. Time has worn on his once athletic body. Coach would reflect internally on everything that happened and himself, his physical detriment, his goals, his ironclad team spirit. All would lead to his penultimate choice, so that the younger and more able-bodied survivors that he has come to love can live on in his stead, so that the coach can be immortalized by his team. Also because what's the point of living on? All the good food out there is gone forever. No cheeseburgers and fries and all that kind of cotton candy. It's all gone. But I argue it is because of all these reasons I cannot see Coach pulling off his own brazen sacrifice. You may have noticed that I went to the most popular choice of coach third and not last. The reason being is that I personally believe that Nick himself is the best choice. Narratively and realistically speaking, hear me out. If we were to bring up Nick when he first met the others at the rooftop, hands down he would have ditched their asses and left them to be eaten alive or burning in the Vanna Hotel. But here is the thing. Nick's lonesome road as a criminal, a swindler, and a shiesty gambler has probably left a toll on him more than we and he himself realizes. Not trusting the survivors he meets at first, but being forced to stick with them to survive probably means this is the first time in a long time he would have anything near a familial connection. Forced to work with others rather than rely on flying solo or using others to go by himself later on. Being a complete asshole to them at every possible chance at the start. Mentioning ditching them at the first opportunity. Hating almost every moment he is with them. He hates Ellis's stories, Rochelle's optimism, Coach just being fat. But as he uses his criminal background in productive ways with the group, Nick actually warms up to them more across each campaign, being most prominent once they arrive in New Orleans during the parish. Although, still, with the snarky and sarcastic comments, he does not mention abandoning them or anything of that nature at that point, treating everyone as if he were the dickish uncle jabbing at them for their flaws, but embracing them when they do stuff he likes or enjoys. He warms up to them. It is most apparent that he holds them in high regard when he sees them dead before his feet, with dialogue saying how much he would miss them.
Shit, Coach. I'm gonna miss you, big guy.
This is awesome.
Ellis, watch out!
What?
Ellis. There goes repopulating the Earth.
You probably should ignore that.
Good night, Rochelle.
Nick is strongly considered to be the second in command of the group right after Coach, but when push comes to shove, he probably wouldn't want the responsibility of becoming the head honcho and leading Rochelle and Ellis, having a line upon Coach's death where he worries for the rest of the group's fate.
Hold up, nah.
God damn it. Coach, what did you leave me with?
Possibly not willing to take on that kind of responsibility. He cares for the group and wants to see them make it. He just doesn't say it and knows it will take a lot to do so. True leadership is needed throughout this entire journey to get them to safety. Everything here depicts how he internally cares about them but will not outright show it, except in this kind of ending. Yes, I can definitely see Coach volunteering to lay down his body and soul for the team. He would not hesitate. But Nick, after everything they have gone through as a foursome, would have a moment of clarity. Nick may realize his combative nature may get them in more trouble and danger in the future with other survivors and maybe the military. That without Coach, things may fall apart quickly. That he actually cares about them. That for the first time in a long while, he does not feel so alone in the world. And the sight of seeing any of them die on his behalf would not be right. Nick does things his own damn way. Now we are gonna enter the realms of dorky fan fiction. I realize that, but it's my headcanon and my YouTube channel. I have been starving for more lore for 15 years now. Give a brother a break. At the bottom of the ninth, the final down of the fourth quarter, the finale with the final push to the rescue vehicle at hand, the survivors would be face to face with insurmountable adversity and a difficult situation. Much like in the sacrifice, when the bridge failed to continue raising for the OG survivors, maybe the military has them all pinned down trying to execute them. The group might need a distraction or Hail Mary to get away, or a horde of infected are walling them off from the final rescue vehicle with a ton of tanks. There is just something in the way and someone has to make that sacrifice. Coach would see what needed to be done and would slowly make his way to doing what would obviously be his final act to some of the survivors there. Before he can achieve this sacrifice though, I can see it dawning on Nick as he shoves Coach back or knocks him down abruptly to stop him from dying, with Ellis and Rochelle witnessing this as Coach slowly looks up and sees Nick's cocky smirk, with Nick's final line to them being some shit like, "These idiots are gonna need a coach," before jumping in the line of fire or an oncoming horde or tank. Much to the surprise of the remaining three, would Coach angrily get up and realize what Nick was doing. He would understand. Ellis maybe would attempt to go and help Nick while Rochelle screams for him to come back, only for Coach to hold them both back and force them to leave. He would not want Nick to die in vain. And Nick would die though. He would redeem himself, penance for whatever sins he had committed throughout his life, saving those that cared for him after the world went to shit. In the end, with it coming down to either Coach or Nick, you may say I am biased, that Nick would never do what I described here, but it's a story with real feeling people, with character development. It would feel forced to parallel Coach with Bill's death, forcing him to die purely because of identical tropes they both carry, such as their leadership positions, their advanced age above the rest of the groups, and detriments of the body, aka age and obesity, that would eventually slow them down in the long run in the midst of this pandemic. It would be a little too on the nose. That, and while the original survivors would have Zoe develop to take on the role of the new leader of the group at the end of the comics to be hardened like Bill, Rochelle and Ellis both stay relatively the same throughout the campaigns, while Nick takes on less of a tougher identity and more of the caring asshole archetype. Nick's development being the polar opposite of Zoe's as they go in opposite directions from where they began. Nick would sacrifice himself for the team and make sure Coach does not pull that off, earning him the achievement of Good Guy Nick. That wraps up this venture into sacrificing your time for some Left 4 Dead lore. Who do you ultimately think would bite the bullet for the group? Let me know down below. Make sure to check out my other Left 4 Dead lore videos from the past 8 years. If you also have time, check out Gamersups and their waifu cups and get 10% off your purchase with code WOW at checkout, link in description. If I make enough sales, I might be able to get my own waifu cup and maybe we can make it something, I don't know, infected related. And the biggest shout out to Duka Gumby, aka Dark Games on YouTube, who made the custom animation you see here and a lot of clips that you're going to be using in November for a big Left 4 Dead video to commemorate the 15th anniversary. It's going to be awesome, so special thanks to Dark Games and all the animators that are on screen right now. I couldn't have done this without y'all and your amazing talents, and BG Bean, I still love you, girl. If you want to support the channel outside cool merch, you can throw in a buck in one of 3 ways to get on this list here, by either being a patron on my Patreon, becoming a YouTube channel member, or donating during my live streams of Left 4 Dead 2 on my second channel, WSG Streams, where we play versus with friends and fans every Wednesday. Until next time, I'm Zackass, aka WowSuch Gaming. Never forget to stay happy, stay healthy, and most importantly, stay wow.
Hello and welcome to the Pizza Show. My name is Pete and I'm here to say give me snacks.